Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFK journey video. In this video we are on the Vietnam server. We're going to be taking a look at the final multipliers for Elijah and Lailah, because if you guys watched yesterday's video we uploaded on the Pioneer server, the twins got buffed yesterday and testing was done on the Pioneer server, and honestly I think they over buffed them, and now the final multipliers on the Vietnam server are going to be kind of a compromise. They're going to down tune compared to those like massive buffs we saw yesterday. However, overall the twins are going to be much better than they were on release, because when they first came out they were a little bit undertuned in my opinion, but now they seem to be in a pretty good position. But in this video, I'm going to talk about how you should use your stellar crystals and your guild coins wisely in order to plan out for this season, because we are getting 3 celestial Hypogean heroes. So it is going to be important to make really good decisions in order to like max out the potential of your account. Okay, so we have the ultimate ability of Elijah and Lailah. It was at 300 initial energy after the first round of buffs, and now it's been down tuned to 200 initial energy. However, the bonus HP which is going to be provided to the twins is still going to remain 50%, which is still great for PvP. That is going to give them the boost and the survivability that they need to be more effective. And yeah, so I think that honestly from 300 to 200 initial energy, it is not that big of a nerf, and this is still a lot better than that 0 initial energy that we had. The whole idea behind this initial energy is to allow the twins to get their first ultimate off faster, because once they cast their first ultimate they gain the massive haste buff, and they kind of just end up cycling their ultimates, and they can have permanent haste buff uptime onto your allies pretty much of 9-second buff duration. So with the 200 initial energy, I still think they do that job almost just as well, just 100 less initial energy compared to before, and this is still going to be the boost that they need, hopefully for Dream Realm to begin cycling their ultimate faster, and also for PvP to get a chance to cast their ultimate before they die. So I do think that this is fine. Honestly, not too bad of a nerf. Still much better than it was on launch, and it should still be enough for them to see use in Dream Realm and PvP. The big change, kind of big down tuning, is the Supreme Plus. Now, the Supreme Plus of Elijah and Lailah, this is honestly a crazy ability. If you read it, Elijah and Lailah increase the attack, basically all of the stats, the attack and defenses of each ally linked through Stellar Bond, and the increases for each ally linked. Originally on launch, this was 10% of the higher stats among other linked allies. Then they buffed it up to 20%, and when it was buffed up to 20%, I was like, this is just ridiculous. Like, basically, you're just getting a free 20% full stat buff on your highest stat ally, given to all of your linked Stellar Bond allies, including Elijah and Lailah themselves, and that is just out of control. Now they've down tuned it to 15%, but honestly I still think this is really good. Like 15%, like imagine you have a Lily May tied up with you and she's your highest Paragon Ascension. 15% of her stats are going to be contributed to all of your allies under the Stellar Bond, and because of this ability, it is going to make it that you always want to link as many allies as possible, because you might be thinking from the Stellar Bond ability itself that you're going to lose out. For example, like if you, for each extra linked ally, you lose out 5% of your attack buff for all of the allies. However, you want to get all of your allies with this Supreme Plus ability, and even if you lose out a bit on the attack buff just from the Stellar Bond, this is going to make it more valuable for you, as long as everyone you're buffing are key heroes that are important to your team, whether it be Dream Realm damage dealers or in PvP, any hero that is important to be buffed up. This is still a crazy Supreme Plus. This is one of the best Supreme Pluses in the game. Like, normally Enhanced Force is like a minor upgrade to an ability. This is just ridiculous. Honestly speaking, 15% free stats to everyone who is linked with the Stellar Bond. This is still crazy, and it is still amazing, even though, and I think 20%, that was just out of control. And even right now, 15% is still really good. And now the Mythic Plus ability, the Vitality is still going to receive that boost of up to 40 vitality if you have the same faction allies linked in the Stellar Bond. However, the nerf is now that is going to go back to the same energy refund amount. Basically, after, it's confusing and people are still kind of unsure exactly how this is going to work, but I'm pretty sure how it works is that after Elijah and Lailah, as well as all the linked allies in the Stellar Bond, have cast their ultimate one time, then each subsequent cast of their ultimate, they're going to refund up to 10% or up to 15% with the Mythic Plus ability. plus 15 exclusive equipment. They're going to refund that energy amount each time they cast their own ultimate and refund it to themselves. That is how I believe it works. Because if you read it here, once the resonance is active, Stellar Bond can be permanently enhanced after all linked allies have used their ultimate. When enhanced, allies regain 10% of the energy cost for each ultimate cast. And so I think it's their own ultimate cast. Other people are interpreting this as all allies who are linked are going to gain 10% of the energy cost for, like, for example, if Elijah and Lailah ultimate cast and it's a 1000 energy basically cost, then 10% of that is 100 energy, and all allies give 100 energy each time Elijah and Lailah cast, and it would work for all 3 allies. That's how some people interpret it. However, just keep in mind the wording of this is kind of strange, and like you need to actually look at the Chinese wording and translate it yourself to figure out exactly what it is, but you can see it in battle, and I'm pretty sure from battle that is not the way it works. It is just that, for example, when Elijah and Lailah cast ultimate, after it's enhanced, then they're gonna refund 10% of their own energy cost to themselves, and it is just for yourself. Yeah, and at plus 15 exclusive equipment goes up to 15% energy refund rather than 20% after the buff, the major buffs which happen, and I still think 15% is totally in line. So the twins overall are gonna be good. Definitely for Dream Realm, I think that is a place that they are gonna shine, and honestly speaking, I think they are gonna be an upgrade to Mikola, because Mikola does really similar to Elijah and Lailah, but Elijah and Lailah give a higher haste buff with their ultimate, number 1. Number 2, they actually even give a higher attack buff to their linked allies, because Stellar Bond attack buff as well as the enhanced force 15% of stats buff. So they're going to be buffing up their allies, even if it's 2, even sometimes 3 allies, but 3 would not fit on a Dream Realm map, so you're going to pick your 2 best damage dealers. They're going to buff them up by over 25% attack, so they're going to be buffing higher than Mikola can buff. Right, and then they also have energy generation. They have other advantages, stacking haste buff. Yeah, so overall, they just look like an upgrade to Mikola. Now, the thing with this means that if you have Mikola built, do you need to get the twins? It might be a minor upgrade, however, Mikola would do the job as well, and Mikola is still going to be great. And so I think what is probably going to happen is it's going to end up that Mikola will be like the second best support in a lot of comps, and she'll be a part of a lot of the second best team comps, and maybe Elijah and Lailah will be a part of the top. However, there will not be a huge difference. So for example, and it's really important now, especially if you're free to play or light spender and you can't recruit for every single Celestial Hypogean. 3 heroes are coming out this season. Even though the twins look good, we have no idea how the other 2 heroes are going to look. They may be even better or more important for your account. And so the smart decision is going to be to wait on the twins and try to get by without recruiting for the twins at all. Unless, for example, you have a bunch of resources saved, you can go for the twins and maybe for another one at the end of the season. That is another option. But I can also understand this is a game. You want to have fun in a game. You want to build heroes you like or who are pretty strong. And I definitely think Elijah and Lailah are going to be good. I do think they're going to be a part of a lot of Endless Dream on boss comps. Really, their kit is looking good, and they're tuned in a way that even if this is, I think these multipliers are going to be permanent because it is live on Vietnam server, and so they can't really change it now because people have already begun recruiting for them. And but I think these numbers are good. Honestly, it is not obviously as good as those crazy buff that we saw yesterday on Pioneer server. However, that was way too overpowered, and this honestly is still going to be great. They're still going to do their job well, but I feel like, for example, for PvP, maybe they're not going to be so important, so crucial for your teams. And for Dream Realm, yeah, they might upgrade your score by a bit, but like you could do just fine with Mikola, for example, in place of them. And so Mikola kind of is going to replace them, like be a budget option for them, and that is kind of the reason why I'm like unsure about whether I would recommend recruiting for them or not. Now, the other thing is that, okay, there's Harak, right? So do you want to recruit for Harak? Do you want to recruit for Elijah and Lailah? If you had to choose between the 2 of them, that is the decision which I cannot say right now. And always, it's better to wait for testing, which is done when a new Hypogean Celestial comes out. There's never any pressure to recruit for them because they're not on rate up. You can buy them from Guild Store. You can recruit for them with Stellar Crystals whenever you want. This is the luxury you have with Celestial Hypogeans, and so it's even more important to wait for all the testing. Don't feel any time pressure. Like, I know they're going to come out to global tomorrow. You do not have to recruit for them on day 1. You don't even have to recruit for them on day 10 or day 30. You can decide when everything is all like basically all tested and we know exactly their position. And when we get the skill kit of future Celestial Hypogeans coming out in the season, then you can decide. And that is the smartest decision. If you're a free-to-play or light spender, I do not recommend you recruit for these two until we know at least the kit of one more hero, I would say, out of the Celestial Hypogeans, and also we know exactly the effectiveness of these two twins in the different bosses, because I really do think Mikola is going to be a fine budget option without them. Now, the thing about Harak. Honestly, Harak is also really good in Dream Realm because in certain endless bosses, he's going to boost your score. However, I got by with him still making in the top 10 of my server, top 20 of my district without building Harak on my main account the whole of the last season. And I can even continue to do that. And so that is kind of the thing. If you're already getting the top ranking rewards or you're in a ranking bracket that you think you would be in with Harak or without him, you do not need to recruit for him. And then it's better to just save your resources because you know how these games work. Power creep is essential. Otherwise, if power creep didn't exist, then there would be no reason to recruit for future heroes. So as time goes on, more and more heroes will come out, which are going to power creep old heroes. So Harak, even though he's looking really strong still, you never know when he's going to be power crept out of the meta. And so like now that I've made do without him on my main account, there's no reason for me really to go for him right now until like I actually need him to get to a higher ranking bracket or something. The twins I think are going to be difficult to power creep. Honestly speaking, I do think that, like I said, they're just an improved version of Mikola. That's how it looks like to me for right now, for like Dream Realm content. And they also have two bodies. There are other advantages of that because when they cast their ultimate, it actually counts as two ultimate casts for like triggering an artifact effect, like Star Shard spell. That is quite a big advantage. And then also like Shakira type comps where you're gonna have, when you want to have grouped up allies, it can maybe have some use of that. So the twins are looking like a good support, and like you don't receive that many Celestial Hypogean support heroes. Like the next one will probably be a Hypogean support, but that will be some time from right now because what they like to do is they want to have all 6 classes of the Celestial and Hypogeans before they go for repeating the other classes. But maybe a Hypogean support is also on the horizon, and maybe they could be strong. Because one thing I want to talk about is that if you look at up until now, who are the dominant heroes? It's the Hypogeans. Rainier in the starter story. So you had Rainier, who is the dominant one, more important than Scarlita, who's kind of being a bit like power crap. And then number 2 season, you have Talion and Fresto. Fresto is the more dominant one out of the two if you had to pick. And now in the last season, Dunlinger versus Harak. Harak was more overpowered and much more meta for your account than having Dunlinger. And now, so we're going to be getting a Hypogean this season as well, probably. And it might be even better than Elijah and Lailah. Or maybe when we get another Hypogean support, it could be better. But I do think the twins are going to be quite future-proof. I think that they are overall good heroes and are good to recruit. However, yeah, we're very limited on stellar crystals. And like when you talk about and you look at like an account, and this is like kind of what I wanted to talk about, is if I looked at an account today, there are some free-to-play even players who have been really smart and they'll have Rainier at Mythic Plus, Freester at Supreme Plus, and Harak at Supreme Plus at this point. And their account is going to be even outperforming me, my main account in Dream Realm, just because of how smart they were in deciding which Celestial Hypogean to build. And so basically, there are always going to be Celestial Hypogeans you can skip quite freely. But you will not know which are the ones to go for until a lot of testing is done, and you have to go in later. You can't go in on day 1. Like these free-to-play players, there's no way they went in day 1 on Fresto. They figured out maybe months later that Fresto is the dominant hero in endless bosses, and so he's the best one to go for, and then they decided to go for him. Or they just got lucky and they chose him because they liked him and he ended up being the best. But basically, the safe way is you wait until plenty of testing is done, and that's what I wanted to make for this video. There's not really, well, I can't do testing because as of right now on Vietnam server, no one who I know or my viewers have recruited for them, and also the testing is going to be basically almost the same. Like the performance of the twins is going to be almost identical to Pioneer server after the major buffs, other than slight reduction, like slight tuning down. I still think they're going to be great for Dream Realm. However, like I said, Mikola is probably going to be a good budget option and you will not need them. And so that is what my overall take is that they are a luxury because they are an improved version of Mikola. Of course, if you want to max out your scores in Dream Realm, then you will probably have to get them. There's no question about that. However, if you just want to remain in the top 10, you do not need to recruit for them. And either way, unless you are like the heaviest of spenders, wait and see. These wait 10 days, 15 days. There's no rush to get them. And then you can decide, because also we're going to be, like we said, 3 celestial hypogeans this season. Like the next one is probably going to be out within a month and a half or under 2 months, and we're going to see the skill kit of that, and then we can decide, is that going to be better to go for than this one, or you can wait until the end of the season. Like honestly the safe thing to do, wait until the end of the season when you know the kits of all 3 heroes, and then go in on the strongest hero for that season. Because you will be able to take one hero from scratch up to Supreme Plus out of Celestial Hypogeans, even as a free-to-play player each season. And if you make the wisest decision, your account is going to really thank you in the long run. But obviously, the account cannot thank you. It's not a person. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And you can share your thoughts with me in the comment section. I know this is a hot topic, and you guys also have your own opinions. And if you want to talk to me more, ask me any specific questions, you can join my AFK Journey Discord server. There's a link to that in the description of this video. And I respond frequently over there. But thanks for watching, guys. I'll hopefully see you in the next video. And until then, everyone, peace out for now.